Hello everyone, my name is Shweta Mani and today I am here to present my SQL project, that is Electric Vehicles Analysis for AtliQ Motors, which I developed as a part of Resume Project Challenge number 12 by Codebasis. Firstly, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the entire Codebasis team for providing such a valuable challenge and dataset. Now let's discuss the content of the presentation. First, I will provide a company overview. Then, we'll look into the problem statement and objective of this project. Then, we'll take a look at the data used for the analysis. After that, we'll explore Power BI dashboard. Then, we'll derive the insight. We'll look into the insights derived from the primary and secondary research questions. Then, and in the end, I will present my recommendations and conclusion based on the analysis. Company overview. AtliQ Motors is a US-based automotive leader specializing in electric and hybrid vehicles. Over the past 5 years, the company has captured 25% market share in North America's EV/hybrid segment. As a part of its global expansion strategy, AtliQ aims to introduce its best-selling EV models to the Indian market, where its current presence is less than 2%. So, the problem here is, despite of its success in North America, AtliQ Motors has less than 2% market presence in India and lacks clear insights into country's EV and hybrid vehicle landscape. So the objective of this project is to analyze the current electric and hybrid vehicle market in India and to provide insights on market trends, customer behavior, and the competitive landscape to help AtliQ Motors decide how and when to launch their EVs in India. Now, coming to the data overview, the analysis utilizes the three datasets in CSV format. First is EV sales by state, which tracks electric vehicles versus total vehicle sales by state and category. Second is EV sales by makers, which shows EV sales by manufacturer and category. Third is SIM date, which maps dates to the fiscal year and quarter. Now, let's explore the Power BI dashboard. This dashboard provides a complete India EV market overview for AtliQ Motors from 2022 to 2024. Here on the left hand side, all the slicers are placed here. First one is fiscal year slicer, second is vehicle category slicer, third is maker slicer, fourth is state slicer, and below it there is a clear or filter button which is used to reset all filters back to default state, and in the end abbreviations are placed here where EV stands for electric vehicles and CAGR stands for compound annual growth rate. Now here at the top, all the five KPIs are placed here where total vehicles has values about 57 million. Second one is total electric vehicles, which is 2 million. Third is EV CAGR by maker, which is 93.91%. Fourth is penetration rate, which is 3.61%. And the last is total revenue, which is 392 billion. Now let's move on to the maker's report. Here, this bar chart visual represents the top of the bottom EV sold by maker. This bar chart in green color represents top EV sold by maker, where Ola Electric is leading by 489k EV sold, then followed up by a TVS, a third Hero Electric, and Ampere. Now to switch to the bottom EV sold by maker, just click on this toggle button and it will show the bottom EV sold by maker where PCA Automobiles has 1684 EV units sold, followed up by BMW India, Volvo, Kia Motors, and Mercedes. Now let's look into the second visual, which is a table visual which shows CAGR for top 5 makers where Ola Electric is leading up by 373.22% and then followed up by TVS, Ather, Ampere, and Hero Electric. Now let's look into the growth and sales trend report. This line chart visual represents the EV sales growth from 2022 to 2024, where in this chart visual, March represents the highest EV sales for all the fiscal years and is then followed up by the second highest month, which is May, for the EV sales, and then here June. June represents the very lowest sales of EV. Now let's look into this second visual, which is a donut chart visual, which shows category-wise EV sold, where Four-wheelers has a two-wheelers represents 92.6% EV sold, whereas the four-wheelers represents 7.4% EV sold. Now let's look into the states report. Here, this line chart visual represents top 10 states by revenue from 2022 to 2024, where Maharashtra is leading by 79 billion and then followed up by Karnataka, Kerala, Delhi, and Madhya Pradesh. Now, below, the second visual represents the top of the bottom state by penetration rate, where top five is represented with green bar chart visual and bottom five represent with the red bar chart visual. And in this top five, the Goa is leading with 9.84% penetration rate and then followed up by Karnataka, Delhi, Kerala, and Maharashtra. And in bottom five visuals, Manipur has a 0.29% penetration rate. Then it's followed up by Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and Sikkim. Here, now the dashboard is very interactive here. If you want to see the performance of any specific maker, state, or for fiscal year, just select from the slicers here. And like here, I selected BMW India, and here all the visuals correspond according to it. Same is case with states, and for the fiscal years like 2022, I selected here. Now, if you want to see the original view, just click on this clear or filter button. That's all about this dashboard. Let us look into the insights derived from the primary research questions. Primary research questions provide understanding of EV sales trends, growth rates, and market performance across states and companies. So let's look into question number one. List the top three and bottom three makers for the fiscal years 2023 and 2024 in terms of number of two-wheelers sold. So here this is the SQL query I wrote in my SQL, and on right hand side this is the output shown in form of data visualization. So here I use bar chart to represent it, and in case of fiscal year 2023, top three makers are Ora Electric, Aquana, and Hero Electric, and the bottom three makers are Pure EV being Jitendra. And in case of fiscal year 2024, top three makers are Ola Electric, TVS, Ather, and bottom three makers are Kinetic Green, Revolt, and Battery Electric. Now let's look into the next question. Identify the top five states with the highest penetration rate in two-wheelers and four-wheelers EV sales in fiscal year 2024. So here this is the SQL query I written, and this represents the output in form of data visualization. So here I use bar chart to represent it, and in case of two-wheelers, Goa has the highest penetration rate leading with 17.99%, followed up by Karnataka, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Delhi. And in case of four-wheelers, Kerala has the highest penetration rate of 5.76%, followed up by Chandigarh, Delhi, Karnataka, and Goa with penetration rate of 4.25%. Now let's look into the next question. List the states with the negative penetration decline in EV sales from 2022 to 2024. Here, this is the SQL query written, and here, this is the output shown here. So, in case of two-wheelers, the dark states have a negative penetration of minus 0.41% from 2022 to 2024. And in case of four-wheelers, Andaman and Nicobar Island state represents a negative penetration decline in EV sales, having a penetration change of minus 1.11%. So, these falling numbers are a concern and show that there are some problems stopping people from choosing EVs in these areas. So, we need to find out the reasons for this drop so that AtliQ Motors can grow better in these markets. Now let's look into the next question. What are the quarterly trends based on the sales volume for top 5 EV makers? That is about four-wheelers from 2022 to 2024. So here this is the SQL query written, and this is the output shown in form of ribbon chart. Here in this, the Tata Motor is leading in all of these makers and having the highest EV sales of in Quarter number 4, that is 33,000. And here in case of Mahindra and Mahindra, the in quarter number 1, EV sales are high, which is about 13,000. Now let's look into the next question. How do the EV sales and penetration rates in Delhi compare to Karnataka for 2024? Here is the SQL query return, and here is the output shown in form of pie chart where in case of EV sales, Karnataka has a EV sales of 161K, whereas Delhi has EV sales of 47K. And in case of penetration rate, Karnataka has a penetration rate of 10.18% and Delhi has penetration rate of 7.71%. So in the both cases of EV sales and penetration rate, Karnataka is leading as compared to Delhi. Now let's click into next question. Please count the compound annual growth rate in four-wheeler unit for top five makers from 2022 to 2024. Here is the SQL query written here, and here this is the output shown in form of funnel chart where BYD India is leading with CAGR value of 556.52%, then followed up by Hyundai Motor having value of 255.48%, then Mahindra and Mahindra, MG Motor and Tata Motors with CAGR value of 94.71%. Now let's look into the next question. List down the top 10 states that had the highest compound annual growth rate from 2022 to 2024 in total vehicles sold. So here is the SQL query written, and here this to represent the output. Here I use line chart visual to represent states where the Meghalaya is state is leading with the highest compound annual growth rate of 28.5%, followed up by Karnataka with a compound annual growth rate of 27.4%, and then Karnataka, Goa, the Karnataka, Delhi, Rajasthan, and Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now let's look into the next question. What are the peak and low season months for EV sales based on data from 2022 to 2024? So here, this is the SQL query written, and this shows the output in form of area chart where the March represents the highest EV sales peak month, having a value of 292K, followed up by steady growth rate of November, February, January, and October and December. Then here in June, June represents the lowest season month for EV sales, having values of 107K. So here this raises an important question: why the sales are low in June? So we need to understand the factors like seasonal buying habits or low promotions in June to help AtliQ Motors to boost the sales in low performing months. Now let's look into the next question. What is the projected number of EV sales, including two-wheelers and four-wheelers, for top 10 states by penetration rate in 2030 based on compound annual growth rate from previous years? So here, this is the SQL query I wrote here, and this is the output shown in form of metric visual where Maharashtra state is leading with the projected sales for 2030 of 13.35 million, whereas the Karnataka has a projected sales of 11.78 million, then followed up by Gujarat, Karnataka, Odisha, Goa, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, and Chandigarh. Now let's look into the next question. Estimate the revenue growth rate of four-wheeler and two-wheeler EVs in India for 2022 versus 2024 and 2023 versus 2024, assuming an average unit price. Here, assuming price for the two-wheelers is 85,000 rupees and for four-wheelers is 15 lakhs rupees per unit. And here, this is the SQL query written, and the output shown here is in the form of KPIs. So, in case of two-wheelers, revenue growth rate is 2000, in case of 2022 versus 2024 is 269.28%, whereas in case of four-wheeler it is 367.79%. And revenue growth rate for 2023 versus 2024 is 28.13%, and in case of four-wheeler it is 83.08%. Here the four-wheelers are showing a positive change. Now let's look into the insights derived from the secondary research questions. Here, the secondary research questions reveal customer preferences, climate influence, infrastructure impact, and guide branding, manufacturing, and strategy for the AtliQ Motors. Now let's look into the question number one. What are the primary reasons for customers choosing four-wheeler EVs in 2023 and 2024? So here there are three factors. First is cost savings. EVs are more efficient and use electricity, which is often cheaper than petrol or diesel, leading to the savings on fuel. Second factor is EVs have a fewer moving parts than internal combustion engines, resulting in a lower maintenance costs, no oil changes, and less repair needed. Second factor is environmental concern. Here, EVs have no tailpipe, so they don't emit CO2 or toxic gases while driving. This keeps the air cleaner. Second is electric cars use simple motors and batteries which are reusable and helping in saving the earth resources. Third factor is EVs run almost silently, lowering the noise pollution. Fourth point is car makers now build the body with more recycled materials, making more eco-friendly. Now let's look into the third factor, that is government incentives. The government offers various incentives like reduced registration fees, tax benefits, and subsidies, making EVs more affordable and encouraging more people to buy them. Now let's look into the question number two. How do the government incentives and subsidies impact the adoption rate of two-wheelers and four-wheelers? Here, in case of two-wheelers, the central government of India launched the PM E-Drive scheme on 29 September 2024 with a budget of rupees 10,900 crore. So it is being implemented from 1st October 2024 to 31st March 2026. Under this scheme, electric two-wheelers get a subsidy of rupees 5,000 per kilowatt of battery capacity with a maximum benefit of rupees 10,000 per vehicle. As a result, more people are now buying two-wheelers. So in case of four-wheelers, the PM drive scheme also supports electric four-wheelers like e-buses, e-trucks and e-ambulances. However, the main focus of the scheme is on two-wheelers and three-wheelers. It also aims to promote advanced battery technology and improve EV charging stations across the country. Now let's look into the second question. Which states in India provided most subsidies? Here, Maharashtra, Delhi and Karnataka are the top states in India providing most subsidies and strongest support for EV adoption by giving incentives like special subsidies for women buyers and extra benefits for scrapping old ICE vehicles. Land conversion fee waivers, registration fee waived, road tax exemption and fast clearances. Now let's look into the question number 3. How does the availability of charging stations infrastructure correlate with the EV sales and penetration rates in top 5 states? Here, the correlation is based on three factors. First is more charging stations represent higher EV sales. Here, Maharashtra has the highest number of charging stations, that is 3,079, and also leads in EV sales, that is 396K. This shows that the better charging infrastructure encourages more people to buy EVs. So, second factor is penetration rate is highest where the infrastructure meets the demand. Here, Delhi, Karnataka, and Kerala had the highest penetration rate, which shows how the strong government support is like subsidies, low taxes, and easy registration rules, which helps more people to choose the electric vehicles in these cities. The third factor is impact of public awareness and growing interest on EV adoption. Here, Tamil Nadu has the lowest penetration rate of 4.30%, but the total EV sales are still high, that is 200K. This is mainly because of strong public awareness, growing interest in EVs, and a well established auto industry in the state. Now, let's look into the next question. Who should be the brand ambassador if AtliQ Motor launches their EV oblique hybrid vehicles in India and why? In my opinion, Virat Kohli and Deepika Padukone should be the brand ambassador for AtliQ Motors. Why Virat Kohli? Virat, why Virat Kohli? Virat Kohli is not only a well-known cricketer but also one of the most influential sports personalities in India. His qualities such as strong leadership, discipline, and a determined mindset perfectly align with the values of automotive brand like AtliQ Motors. His down-to-earth nature and massive fan following across all age groups makes him a strong and relatable face for the brand. Now, why Deepika Padukone? Deepika Padukone is a very popular actress who is known for her style, confidence, and global image. She is already the brand ambassador for many top companies, which shows her strong influence. Her presence would add elegance and trust to the AtliQ Motors, and her wide appeal across different markets can help the brand to connect with a broader audience. Now let's look into the last question. Which state of India is idle to start the manufacturing unit based on subsidies provided, ease of doing business, and stability in governance? In my opinion, Tamil Nadu is the ideal state to start the manufacturing unit. Now let's discuss the factors based on it. First is subsidies. Tamil Nadu is a home to the major EV manufacturers like Ola Electric, Ether Energy, and Hyundai, and offers capital subsidy, land rebate, stamp duty waivers, electricity tax exemption under EV policy 2023 to 2028. Second factor is ease of doing business. Here, ranks among top states in India, fast single window clearance system and proactive industry policies. Third is stability in governance. Stable political environment with long-standing focus on industrial growth. Fourth factor is infrastructure. That is excellent road, ports, that is Chennai and Indore, and logistics infrastructure, as well as existing EV and auto clusters. Fifth factor is major investors. Ola Electric, Ethernergy, Hyundai, TVS, BYD all have invested in the state. And the last factor is skilled workforce. Strong presence of engineering colleges and vocational training centers. Now, let's look into the recommendations for AtliQ Motors. So, my first recommendation would be AtliQ Motors should launch its EV models in the cities where the EVs are popular, charging stations are available, and government support is strong. This will help in faster adoption of electric vehicles. My second recommendation would be to boost the sales and the market share. Atlic Motors should consider utilizing the central and the state subsidies to make it electric vehicles more affordable and attractive to buyers. My third recommendation would be to maximize the benefits of the relationship between the charging infrastructure and EV adoption. Electric Motors should invest in expanding charging stations, especially in the major cities and along highways to boost the higher penetration rate in key states. Now, let's look into the conclusion. Implementing the above mentioned recommendations will enable Electric Motors to establish a strong foothold in the Indian EV market, stay ahead of trends, and achieve long-term sustainable growth in India EV sector. Now, that's all with the presentation, guys. And do please provide feedback. It matters to me a lot and do share it. Thank you and have a nice day.